Hola amigos, this is Cristina Luna again with Café con Cristina, and we're here helping the community in this crisis. And today we are so honored and so happy to have somebody that you really need and want and will love in your homes. Dr. William Riker, Superintendent of East Stroudsburg, right?
Yes, I'm very happy to be here.
Oh, and you have a lovely smile on and you have like a good energy. So that's what people need in these times of confinement, right?
Yes.
Dr. William Riker, could you tell us a little bit about yourself and what is the job of our superintendent? Is it the same in East Stroudsburg and Stroudsburg everywhere else, or is it different?
Well, I think it's different. I think every school, the size of the school, the demographics of the school, the different programs that the schools may offer. So it's very different. I've only been the superintendent of East Stroudsburg, although I've worked in 4 other school districts, 3 in Pennsylvania and 1 in Florida. Mm-hmm. So I have had the experience of being in other school systems. Obviously, East Stroudsburg's my favorite, though, by far.
Well, thank you. That's good to know because you're there, right? So
yes.
Tell us a little bit about what is the job of a superintendent? Although you say it adjusts in different boroughs. What would be the job?
So we, as superintendents, we oversee all aspects of the educational program, everything from budget to student registration to facilities and maintenance. You name it, we have our hand in it in some way. Curriculum, transportation, instructional programs, budget, everything with the budget, food service, human resources.
You run the schools, right?
We run the whole school. That's correct.
That's a lot. And are you open that after this interview's on, if people have comments, we also have a community weekly outreach through Zoom every Friday, starting this Friday. Are we open for people to ask questions and I will send them to you because you seem to know everything about this?
Well, I won't say I know everything, but I'm absolutely open to answering questions. You know, anything I can do to assist our families and provide information, I'm more than happy to do.
Yeah. Amigos, I'm Dr. William Riker. This interview is going to be in Café con Cristina YouTube and we'll share it on our Facebook. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment because we need to know that's the way, that channel that we have of communicating. So we need for people to know it. So please just do it and we will look at your comments and send them. Okay, because every week we have like an interview also with the doctor of Lehigh Valley Hospital and we want to provide all this information, but we need to people know how they can get it. First, the to learn from home has been implemented 1 week ago, right?
Yeah, started on Monday.
Is it totally implemented?
I would say not totally. We are still getting Chromebooks in the hands of our families and for those that have requested them. The program for the first 2 weeks is really just to get our families and our students accustomed to this new learning environment. So we're not doing any grading. We have a digital, which is the online program, as well as a non-digital, which is a packet, a paper packet that we've been sending home each week. We send about 200 of those home every week directly to the families. And so we have over 1,200 Chromebooks that we've put together, our technology team, in order to get them out to our K-5 families because they don't have their own separate Chromebook if they choose to do the non-digital or the online digital program. So this is really a transition week and next week as well. And then the third week, we hope to be up and running full, that everyone has what they need. They have their Chromebooks, they have their packets, they are able to log in and get on into the system and work with their teachers. So there's really a phasing in process, I would say.
What would you tell, is there people that have said, well, I haven't received it yet, or I haven't been able to log in? How can they get the information?
So this past weekend, we included on our website a Learn from Home support page. And that support page has all the information regarding logging in. If they need a device, a digital device, a Chromebook, they can request it on that site. And we also have a support page where they can submit a question, and the question actually will be sorted or directed to their student's building principal. On a daily basis, the principal reviews those questions. They assign them to a counselor or a technology person, or maybe themselves or an assistant principal. So communication is the most important thing. And the best way for parents to communicate with us is by going on that website and going to that support page and submitting a question that someone's going to look at every day.
We have a chat here. Do you want to put it in? I think you can access to it too.
So you want me to put the website in?
Yes, please, that would be great.
Yes.
Okay, got it. So people can go to that, right? And
That's
then
correct.
they can ask all the questions. No calling to the schools, right?
No calling to the schools. And I say that only because in order to maintain the stay at home and the social distancing, we are trying real hard to allow families and employees to stay home with their families and not come into school. So phones aren't going to be answered and people aren't going to be checking them. They can check this document every single day from their homes, which means they can provide an email response to the families at the same day or within a day.
What about people that have concerns about getting the package and, you know, if it's how to disinfect it or if there are any, what is the truth about that? Do you have any protocols that people should follow?
So very few people are involved in actually getting the packets ready for distribution. It's actually myself and 3 members of our curriculum department that put that together. We do all the mailings, we stuff the envelopes, we include a prepaid postage return envelope. So once students have completed their work, they can put it in that envelope at the end of each week and they can return it to us. They don't have to worry about postage. We've taken care of all of that for them. So it's really a very small group of people that are putting that together and readying that to be distributed. Obviously, our teachers and our department chairs have done an amazing job of actually creating the information and the instructional materials that are going to be included in there. But we are very careful as to how many people are actually putting their hands on that information.
I'm sure that many people will want to know that, right?
Yes, yes.
What are the main challenges you have faced this first week with parents, students, teachers?
I think our main challenge again is communications, and the only mechanism that we have to reach out to our families, our parents, and our students is whether their email address is up to date in our system or their phone number is correct on their the parent portal, where they would be able to update that information. So the best thing we can do, if a parent hasn't received our many Connect Ed messages and emails and so forth, what they need to do is go into their student's portal, the parent portal, or just send their principal of their student's principal in that Learn from Home support page and say, hey, I need my email changed or I need my phone number updated, and we'll get that done so that they start to receive all of our communications. It's probably the most important piece that we're trying to make sure we are getting the message out to all of our families and our students. And because we don't have any other system to do that, that email and that phone number being correct has to be
critical. Correct. So yes, check it, right? Check your email, check your phone numbers.
That's right. Check that, because that's how we're getting information out to you. And so if it's not right, or if it changed and we haven't, and that hasn't been changed in our system, that would be the only reason that no one's getting that. We have about a 98% success rate, but we know that means 2% of our families are probably not receiving our messages.
Okay. So if you know, they can always check with other parents or other students, right? And see how they can help each other. I'm sure that that's a good source. What are the main concerns you have received from the parents' point of view? Like they are working at home or they're not working, because it's different from a parent that decides consciously to homeschool their kids.
Yes.
And they have that structure, that when something like that, boom, happens immediately in your community and everybody has to, you know, like do something, you know, in a few days, in a few hours, and you're not prepared for it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that you are absolutely correct. And we're trying to be very sensitive and very supportive of our families. We don't want this to be another burden for them. We don't want this to cause them more stress and more anxiety. We want to be here to help and to support in that. I think the most questions I've seen, and we've had about 350 questions already come in. Wow. Through that through that support page. And I look at that several times a day. Probably the biggest question is, my student can't log in. How do they get logged in? Or they need a Chromebook. How do we get a Chromebook? And so I think as we get into the instructional piece, where their students are perhaps struggling with some of the academic work, what I would encourage them to do is, we're really at a point now where all of our teachers are working, even though that's from home. Our counselors are working, our administrators are working. And so no different than if they were in our schools every day. If they have a concern with something academically, they should reach out to their teacher via email. If they have a concern about something that their guidance counselors, they're obviously mental health, we're very concerned about. We want people to be mentally safe as well, and emotionally, and social emotional is important to us. So they can reach out to their counselors for help in that as well. And of course, our building administrators are here to respond. So we want to be as responsive as we can. We recognize this is new for us too. So it's not something we've ever done, and most of our staff have never done it. So we really are in it together, and we have to work together and be a strong community, and we will be there to assist them in any way we can.
So we're not going to edit it, because that's what's real life, is what's happening in people's homes, right? So this is my question now that my little one, preschooler, came to me. We have done a couple of Zoom classes, although she's a preschooler. I guess that you're homeschooling from kindergarten to high school, right? You're all receiving the information and the packages. Right. What do you do? And I've noticed that my little one will have, like, for them it's weird to see their class in a computer. You know, after a few minutes, he gets bored. It's not the same to have this physical interaction than have one in the computer. What do you recommend? How can we respond effectively at home in different ages?
That's a great question, and it's a hard one to answer because I think it's different not only for every age group, but even within the age groups. And so I think the key is knowing that as a school district, we remain flexible in that. We provided sample schedules for parents. So if they were saying, how much time should my child spend working on schoolwork today, we tried to give them that structure if they needed that structure. But at the same time, we want them to be as flexible as they need to be. So if a student becomes bored with something, walk away from it and, come back to it. It isn't like a class that you have to sit there for, 30 minutes, an hour, 45 minutes. It really does allow that flexibility to be able to say, okay, let's walk away and come back and work on it again, and really try to find those times when the student is ready to do that. Elementary, that's going to be much more difficult, especially for our younger students. Our secondary students, they're going to be a bit more independent and be able to do that. So for elementary students, whether they're doing the digital or the non-digital, yeah, there's a bigger task and an involvement for parents now to try to assist them in doing that. But again, I would really encourage them to keep reaching out to their child's teacher, counselors, principals, because as I said, we're here to help. So, but flexibility is key here, and flexibility, and we realize that families need that flexibility, and our students are going to need that flexibility, and we're going to remain sensitive to that. Starting next week or the week after, teachers will start to create some of their own videos or do some video messaging. We realize that teachers have built great relationships over this year, as they do every year, with their students in their class. And for some of our younger ones, they want to see their teacher. They actually want to see their face and hear their voice. So that's one of our phases, and we're looking forward to that, so that our teachers can have those visual interactions with their students, even if it may not be every day, but even if it's once in a while. I think that's important for them to maintain that. And I think it's important for the students to see them and hear them and feel like they're still part of that relationship that they've built over the year, all the way up until March 13th, when we had to stop school.
Is it possible that the school year is over physically or not? Or do we have any information about that? And do we have any information about the end of the year, school year, so far?
Yes, so what we do know is that the East Stroudsburg Area School District Board of Directors have committed to June 2nd still remaining as our last day of the school year. And that's regardless of whether we physically come back to school or not. So if we don't, the Learn from Home program will continue up until June the 2nd, and we'll be prepared to do that.
June the 2nd is a final date? Sorry for interrupting.
Yes, yes. And now I will say this, the only way that would change, and I've actually put this out in my videos that I share with the community, is if the governor or the Secretary of Education steps in and tells us we can't do that. But for now, the board of directors here is committed to saying that was going to be our last day of school, and we want to remain empathetic towards our families, and we know everyone's going through difficult times, and if we can create and have some level of normalcy, let's keep the end of the school year June 2nd as it was always intended to be.
That's for all Pennsylvania or only for East Stroudsburg? Only
for East Stroudsburg. That's only East Stroudsburg. That's a great question. So every school district right now will have their boards of directors will have their own local control in making that decision, because the governor and the Secretary of Education has already said they are going to waive the requirement for the 180 days and the 990 and 900 hours that's required by school code. So each board has that discretion to be able to determine when their last day of school is going to be. Now, I think your other part of that question was, are we ever coming back to school this year? And that we don't know. What we do know is that the governor, as of Monday, said schools are closed indefinitely. Now, some people are interpreting that to mean we're never coming back. I'm interpreting that to mean schools are closed until they tell us otherwise. So I think they've left themselves a little room there to be able to say, we could still come back to school, but we're not ready to say schools are closed for the rest of the year. And some states have done that. Pennsylvania has not.
I see. Thank you. And now, what are the most successful tools? Now we're full in homeschooling, okay? We know that there's a date. Every district should find out the date for them. Can we implement the whole material that we have missed these times in the days that we have left?
So we will only have missed 10 days of school. So because we started our program this past Monday on March 30th, really we've missed 10 school days that didn't occur from March 16th until the 30th. I think that the important piece here is homeschooling or digital or non-digital learn from home program is really not bricks and mortar, as we know, our normalcy of coming to school every day. And it's really not a cyber education program. It's something very different. And I think the challenge from a teaching and learning piece is that students that choose to go into a cyber learning program, that they know they have a different method of teaching and learning that occurs. This crisis that we're in has forced all students to go into a digital or non-digital learning
like overnight.
We know, and as educators, that digital learning is not for everyone. And even our non-digital packets that we send home, that presents other challenges and difficulties. So, and then the other piece is we also know that, and we don't know to what extent all of our families are suffering. Some are suffering a lot more than others, and we have to remain, cognizant of that, and we have to be mindful of the fact that there are students who will be challenged by not just whether it's an online or a packet, but by other things that are happening in their homes because of things that we're not aware of that their families are struggling with as a result of this. So we want to provide the best education. I think we will, but we also want to and recognize that there are other things that may rise to a level of importance that may not always allow the student to do all the things we may be asking them to do.
Yes. Thank you, Dr. Riker. Now to finalize this in 1 minute, tell us what are your final recommendations and messages to the people, taking into account that this has happened overnight, that some people cannot log in, that people didn't choose to this kind of learning, that parents are struggling between working or not working, also having food at home sometimes. I know that the schools are offering that. You can give us a little briefing about that in your final statement. We would appreciate that, and we will continue regularly whenever you want and whenever people have questions to give updates with you.
Absolutely, I'd love to do that. So for our food service, our staff has done a remarkable job. To date, we have served, I know at the end of the 12th day, we were over 53,000 meals. By today, that number's probably closer to 60,000 lunches and breakfasts that our staff has prepared. Our bus drivers have helped to deliver, and our support staff has helped to get out to our communities. I think we're the only district.
That in the website you gave us too?
Yes. Yeah, and I would say we're the only district that I'm aware of in the area that's actually using our buses to get food out to our communities so that our students can still have a decent breakfast and a decent lunch every day. Now we'll continue to do that, but it's important for me to share so that your listeners can hear. Next Thursday, Friday, and Monday, of course, that's a holiday, and we do not have our staff working those days. So we will not have any breakfast or lunch deliveries on those dates, but we will come back to that on the Tuesday, the 14th of April.
Thank you, Dr. Riker. And we know that the basic things that we found out is be flexible, log in, and connect by email with your school, right?
Yes, be flexible, we're flexible. Be patient, we're here to help you, and we will help you. And we have your best interests in mind. I mean, you and your students and our families and our community, we recognize that. We're happy with our program. Communication.
Thank you. So we'll communicate. Thank you
Yeah.
so much. And amigos, thank you so much to you and all your staff for doing all this great job overnight, you know, all this intensity, you're working hard to make it happen. Let's
Yes.
all help each other and help you deliver the job. And, you know, we adjust to the circumstances and make the most of it, right?
That's correct. You
Thank you
got
so
it.
much. This is
Thank
Dr.
you.
William Raker, Superintendent of East Stroudsburg, and this is Cristina Luna of Café with Cristina. I will do a briefing of this interview in Spanish for you all guys, Spanish-speaking parents. And thank you. Connect with us, subscribe so that we can continue giving you more information in Café con Cristina. All your messages will be sent to Dr. Raker. Thank you so much, Dr. Raker.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Be safe.
Be safe.